The Second Vatican Council, or Vatican II as it is widely known, was a monumental event, not only in the Catholic Church but throughout the world when it convened more than 50 years ago. Catholics today, including those who serve the Church and religious life, are still being impacted by the many changes it brought. In part one of a two-part series, reporter Steve Kiltonic explains the events leading up to the council and what actually took place when more than 2,000 bishops assembled in Rome at St. Peter's Basilica.
When it first convened on October 11, 1962 at St. Peter's Basilica, Pope John XXIII proclaimed Vatican II was designed to open the windows of the Roman Catholic Church and let some of the modern world's fresh air inside. Over a 4-year period, 2,000 bishops from throughout the world met to discuss how the Catholic Church could more effectively preach the gospel in modern times. When it concluded on December 8, 1965, the Council produced 16 landmark documents which, in essence, transformed the Church as it existed for hundreds of years. Today, most religious scholars agree that Vatican II stands as one of the most significant religious events of the 20th century. But 50 years later, the Church is still struggling to digest all the reforms that took place. In celebration of the 50th anniversary of Vatican II, Elms College held a 2-day symposium entitled Recapturing the Spirit of the Second Vatican Council. It featured 6 speakers who lectured on various topics of the Council, including many of its 16 documents. Sister Paula Robillard, Director of Faith Formation for the diocese, hosted the event, which included Elms President Sister Mary Reap, Father Mark Stelzer, Sister Eleanor Dooley, Father Bill Pomerlow, Marty Peon, and Father Warren Savage. Attendees learned about the changes that resulted from the Council, how Vatican II has impacted Catholics worldwide, and the historical events that led up to the Council. Marty Peon is director of the Institute for Theology and Pastoral Studies at the Elms.
There was so much tension and so much anxiety during World War II that it took all of Pius XII's energy to deal with that. So when Pius XII died, this was the first opportunity for the Church to begin to rethink, reassess how it was going to deal with a whole range of things.
It was such a century of growth in technology, a century of growth in philosophy, the emergence of social sciences, such as sociology. We came to learn more about psychology, medical advances, all sorts of new issues were coming forth that the Church was suddenly invited to embrace and to have some answer to and some response to. So long before the events of 1962 to 1965, the winds of change were there theologically and philosophically.
It shocked most everyone when Pope John XXIII announced to the world in 1959 his plans to convene an ecumenical council, the first since Vatican I 100 years earlier, and only 3 short months after his election to the papacy.
People couldn't believe that this old man, whom everybody thought would be a caretaker pope, would have the vision or courage to call a council. So from its very beginning, Vatican II was an event that caught the world's attention and by sort of surprise.
In October of 1962, John XXIII presided over the first session and 2,500 bishops assembled from 116 nations.
The council quickly became a news item on NBC, ABC, CBS News because they were able to get the transmissions almost on a daily basis from the satellites, and this was brand new.
In the 4 sessions that took place over 4 years, the bishops would meet for a 2-month period in the fall before returning home in time for the Advent season. Springfield Bishop Christopher Weldon was also called to Rome.
Many of the bishops have said they just looked around and saw how diverse they were in color, just to see the diversity of their ethnic backgrounds, languages spoken, that it was truly the work of God's Spirit in their midst that surprised even the bishops.
Bishop Emeritus Remy DeRue of Victoria, British Columbia, is one of the last surviving members of Vatican II who attended all 4 sessions.
I really sensed that something very important was happening in history, something that could affect the well-being of the Church for many years to come.
Just newly ordained, DeRue, at age 38, was the youngest bishop in the world when he arrived with a Canadian delegation to hear the Pope's opening remarks.
He expressed his hope that the council would lead to a better understanding of Catholic teaching, that it would further the cause of ecumenism, bring the Christian churches together, and also that the church would reach out to all people of goodwill.
Bishop DeRue addressed the council 4 times over the years.
The bishops discussed one document after the other, sometimes had 2 or 3 going parallel. And as the issues arose, then we were invited to comment and to respond, for instance, to respond to already written texts that were submitted, or suggest new ideas, or different positions on a variety of topics.
As expected, the discussions were often contentious. Some bishops were more progressive and welcomed reform, while others were more traditionalist and thought the church was moving much too quickly.
There was a tiny minority which disagreed with the council even until the end, even though the votes came in on all 16 documents, over 90% in favor.
There was always a sense that there had to be some kind of compromise. So if you read the documents carefully, what you'll find is that in one paragraph you'll be listening to a voice that wants to move forward, but by the time you get to the next paragraph you're hearing a voice that says, be careful, be careful, be careful, don't go too far, don't go too fast.
Sadly, Pope John XXIII never lived to see his dream fulfilled. The pontiff died of cancer in June of 1963, and Pope Paul VI reconvened the council in the fall of that year. Next week, in part 2 of our look back at Vatican II, we'll see how the council impacted Catholics as well as those in religious life, and answer the question, can the spirit of the Second Vatican Council be recaptured?
There was such excitement. People would talk about it. It was a conversation very often at table.
For Real to Real, I'm Steve Kiltonic.